A warm welcome to one and all. Today, let's discuss about sampling and characterization of solid waste. Myself, Dr. Godwin Sharmila, Associate Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, Rogni College of Engineering and Technology. Sampling. The sampling is nothing, it's a method or process of collecting samples from the municipal solid waste or the waste which was provided to analysis from the collection site to identify the each and individual characteristics and the level of generation and its composition. So the major part of sampling is to determine the overall waste generation level and its capacity. Usually based on the types and area, the sampling may varies. In case of residential, commercial, industrial and market, slum, etc., the sampling points has been distributed evenly based on the each sectoral variation, and based on that overall sampling points has been chosen and the samples were collected from those sampling points and the proper composition and its characteristics was determined. So in the municipal solid waste, we know it is a heterogeneous mixture because it consists of various and diverse type of waste with different characteristics and with different composition. So this require number of samples to be collected so that it may be easier to determine the composition and its characteristics. One such method is quartering and coning techniques. In this, the sampling points has been divided, area has been chosen and the part has been divided into 4 sectors. From these 4 sectors, the 2 sectors has been chosen and the samples will be collected. After that, these 2 sectors has been further divided into 4 sectors, and from that sector the sample has been taken and gone for analysis. So this type of technique is highly preferred in the area of residential, commercial and market area where the vegetable market, meat market and grain markets are available. So this sample site represents overall income of from each group of places from which the samples has been collected within the urban local bodies. Next, the sign in this section, in this quaternary and the coning method, the sampling procedure that are followed are initially about 10 kilogram of solid waste has been collected within the within the site and the location spot. So the sample contain heterogeneous composition. So the samples must be placed in a uniform heap. In this, the heap has been divided into 4 portions as we see in the diagram by means of the straight line perpendicular to each other. After that, from the opposite direction, the 2 heaps has been selected and it was removed. Then the remaining portion will be again thoroughly mixed and then it was divided into 4 sections, segregated into 4 sections. So from the last remaining, the opposing fraction will be identified for the physical and the chemical characteristic purposes. So the chemical analysis followed in this will be performed in the laboratory of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Next is block techniques. In this block techniques, the group of samples which was collected is found too difficult to analysis. So the sample is dumped in a clear area. Then from from the clear area, from the load which was deposited in the clear area without any mixing, the samples has been collected, which is termed as the representative sample. These representative samples will be separated and it is characterized, and then the analysis of characterization and composition will be done by the sampling team. This technique is highly accurate and it is mainly aimed to define the representative samples. Next is grid technique. In this grid technique, usually the landfill area, the overall waste has been dumped from the smaller collection unit to the to the area spot of disposal site. So in this cleared area, each square will be assigned to each divided sector, and with the help of a letter code for identification. Then the waste will be unloaded in the specific site of the grid and then mixed approximately within the each square, which was placed as a placed for unloading those waste which was collected from the individual sector. Then the waste characteristic will be determined within the set of number of squares, and it was compared with the weight and the volume of the entire load which was disposed at the point of site. Then let's see about the characteristics of solid waste. Mainly, the characteristics of solid waste are divided into three types: physical characteristics, chemical characteristics, and biological characteristics. First, let's see about physical characteristics. Physical characteristic which was here to study was density. We know about density. It is nothing, it's a mass per unit volume. So, this is the major factor which determines the how the waste has been properly managed, and also this is the one which determines the design of the solid waste management system too. For example, sanitary landfill, storage, collection and transport. Because through the density only, we can estimate the volume and the mass of the waste which was generated from the each sector. Based on that, the density area of location or disposal of waste as well as the collection of waste will be determined. There was about the reduction of volume is about 75% will be obtained during the normal compaction equipment. So this vehicle which was allowed for carrying those weight will be determined based on the density of the waste which was disposed from the site of location. So the density is considered to be the important factor for the determination of proper management of solid waste system. Then next is the moisture content. Moisture content we already know, it is the ratio of weight of the water to the total weight of the wet waste. So in this moisture content, usually the cost of collection and the transport must be taken into consideration. Typically the moisture content will be 20 to 45%, which represents usually represented in the arid climate condition, and the wet region nearly about 45% are however be seen. This is usually uncommon. So the moisture content is an important factor, is also an important factor in finalizing the economically feasible method of the proper management of the waste, since the incineration process need the dried waste. Hence prior to the pre-processing or prior to the disposal, the proper level of characteristics such as moisture content must be essential to be determined to treat the high proportion of various waste such as mainly the food and the yard waste. Next is size. So the size of the waste is the important factor which must be which plays an important role for the sorting or the segregation purpose. So generally the size reduction or the size of the waste constituent must be reduced in the proper way to have an efficient waste management system. So the proper analysis of the waste characteristics must be done in order to estimate the size of the particle, which was given provided in the form of formula which was listed here. This SC, the size of the component, by taking the average between the length and the height of that length and height of the overall weight of the particle, we can usually determine the size of the components. Next one is, let's see about the what are the physical properties that must be essential in order to dispose the waste in an efficient landfill condition. So in this we have to first determine the field capacity, because the field capacity is the one of the factor which determines the efficiency of the landfill, since Landfill is an earthwork which is constructed, engineered structure which is constructed below the ground surface area. So the gravitational pull within this area is heavy, hence it is very important to determine the total amount of moisture content in the particular area and the field capacity of those area, how long and this uh, waste can be withstand in this sector of landfilling process. Then permeability of the compacted waste. In this, the permeability is a major physical property because it is the one which determines the movement of the liquid and the gas in the landfill. Excess permeability may lead to the emission of the leachate or the escape of infiltration of the leachate evolvement into the groundwater, which may affect the ecosystem too. So the surface area porosity is an important factor which is to be considered while proper managing of the waste. Next is porosity. The porosity is nothing the amount of voids that exist per unit overall volume among the overall volume of the material. So the porosity of municipal solid waste varies from 0.4 to 0.67 based on the compaction provided for the pre-processing. So the porosity of solid waste is determined by the formula, and the degree of the physical change has also been given in the formula. Hence, based on using that, the compression index changes second will be determined. So these are all the factors which is essential to be determined prior to the physical property analysis. Then chemical characteristics. The chemical characteristics of solid waste is very important to understand the behavioral nature of the waste prior to the disposal, because the product of decomposition as well as the heating value is an important factor to be determined for proper processing of the waste. So which can be analyzed during using this chemical characteristic method. So the rate and the product of decomposition must be assessed through the chemical analysis. So it is better to determine the calorific value in order to deduct the heating value of the solid waste. Hence, the chemical characteristic determination assists in the prediction of the evolution of syngases and the methane gases from the waste processing units. So, some of the chemical characteristics are lipids, carbohydrate, proteins, natural fiber, synthetic organic material, non-combustible fusing point of ash, heating value. Lipid in the sense the material such as fat, oil, greases are comes under this section. The major source of the lipids are garbages, cooking oil and fat, which has the calorific value of 38,000 kilocalorie per kilogram. So this waste has high lipid content for energy recovery process. Since this lipid is in a solid state, become liquid at the temperature when it be slightly above the ambient. So this type of organic component can be easily biodegradable but has a low solubility among the waste substances. Next one is carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is usually found in the food and yard waste. These are the polymeric components such as consist of starches and the cellulose, which are readily biodegradable and can be converted into carbon dioxide, water and methane. Next is protein. The protein is the compound usually derived from the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, nitrogen. It consists of organic acid with the substitute of amine groups. It was usually found in the food, garden wastes, and it has 5 to 10% of dry solids in its composition. Another chemical characteristics is namely natural fiber. It is nothing, it's a natural compound, that is cellulose, lignin, etc., which are resistant to biodegradation. These type of compounds are highly present in the paper and the paper products. So it accounts to be highly non-biodegradable, and they are highly combustible in higher proportion. So the calorific value of these waste can be varied. Next one is fusion point of ash. Fusion point of ash is nothing. It's the point at which the waste has been burned to get the dry form or to the ash form is the fusion point of ash. The heating value, we know that the heating value is nothing. The process of fixing the uh, apt amount of heat to be generated in a proper way. Also, synthetic organic material, that is plastics, also comes under the chemical characteristic, which is a significant component, which is accounted to be 5 to 7 percentage of total waste generation. Since the plastic is not biodegradable in nature, it cannot be decomposed by the natural process at the disposal site. So, it must be properly treated prior to disposal, so that the plastic waste may prevent interference of plastic waste while treating the another sets of waste may be prevented, hence which may reduces the environment pollution too. So the recycling of plastic is the one of the major problem or the scenario to be faced by the each and individual waste component separation at the disposal site. These are all the ultimate analysis that was carried out during the chemical characterization, and the range of their level is of exist in the municipal solid waste has been listed as, and also by means of the proximate analysis, moisture, volatile matter, fixed carbon, glass, metal, ashes can be determined. Next, biological characteristics. The biological characteristics is one of the important factor to determine the composition of the municipal solid waste, which is the one which determines how much amount of organic matter can be converted into the biogases, as well as the existence of the inorganic and inert material. So, during this process, the order production will be minimized, and also the generation of the flies can also be reduced, since the putrescible nature of the organic matter found in the municipal solid waste will be pre-treated in the digestion process. Next, this organic fraction exists in the municipal solid waste can be classified as follows. That is, water soluble constituents such as sugar, starches, amino acid, various organic acid, etc. Then the hemicellulose, which was exist in the lignocellulosic substances, which consist of the 5 to 6 carbon sugars, and also cellulose. This also exists in the lignocellulosic substances, fat, oil, waxes. These are all the esters of alcohol and long chain fatty acid. Lignin is one of the major polymeric compound that exists in the plant varieties as well as in the hemicellulose or the hemicellulose or the cellulose existence with the methoxyl group. So this exact chemical nature was not still identified, and also the lignocellulose has a combination of lignin as well as the cellulose. The protein is composed of the huge amount of combo chains of amino acids. Next, biodegradability of organic waste. The biodegradability is an important factor which determines the level of degradation of organic matter by means of anaerobic process. So, volatile solid content is the important one to determine for the estimation of the biodegradability. Usually, the volatile solids has been determined by the ignition of these waste at 550 degrees Celsius. So, based on this, the biodegradability for organic matter will be determined, and also the use of VS is to describe the biodegradability of the organic fraction of MSW. Hence, this is the major factor to be determined for efficient management of waste by means of aerobic process. Hence, the biodegradability factor can be determined by means of the equation, and the lignin content is a major factor which is to be included while determining the biodegradability fraction. So next, let's see about the factor affecting the generation of solid waste and characteristics. They are the effect of source reduction, that is, the waste which was generated at the source, it must be reduced at the source itself, which may also reduces the generation of the solid waste, and also the extent of recycling. By reducing the waste at the source, The method of recycling at home level must be induced so that the knowledge can be shared, which can prevent the generation of solid waste. Then the effect of public attitude and legislation. The proper societal awareness must be created, and also the proper legislation should be framed by the government for proper management of the sludge. Geographical location. In India, one of the major factor which affects the proper management of the sludge is the geographical location. So geographic location must be provided in the active way to enhance the minimization of solid waste generation. Based on the season of variation, the solid waste generation also varies. In case of cold and summer, means during the summer season, the generation of the waste will be more, since the people used to roam here and there during the summer season freely outside outside their houses, which may lead to the excess overconsumption of the food, which causes the excess generation of waste. And also the frequency of collection also the important factor. If the waste was being collected frequently, the waste will be discharged or disposed of in the container will be also increased. So collection members forms a major role during this process of waste generation. And also characteristics of service area is an important factor to be considered, and which may also affect the generation of solid waste and its characteristics. Thank you.